Hello and good evening. The live from my kitchen. It's Wednesday night. Welcome to the inaugural episode of GCTV. Like I said, live in Garfield Center for the Arts, Studio B, my kitchen. So just before we get started with everything this evening, I wanted to address a few things. Now, tonight you are going to see more than the people that live here in my apartment. We are practicing distancing techniques within the space. However, we don't recommend this for everybody. We are doing this just for the sake of this evening. Not all of the streams are going to be done in this particular fashion, but just as just kind of reacting to everything that's happened in the past few days, this is the best we could get together. So please note in the info text at the corner of the screen, we have a link for the ability to donate to the Garfield or purchase a gift card. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, if you want to help support the Garfield, we ask that you please do that. So tonight we have me here. Shannon's here, Shannon Whitaker. We have Hester Sachse, Kendall Davis, and the inimitable Brad Chairs.
That's me.
That's Brad. It's also Brad's birthday today, so make sure to drop him a line, give him a call. It's his birthday. All right. It is. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to start off the evening with a poem that I learned about at summer camp at Boy Scouts one time. It's by Robert W. Service, who is a Canadian British poet who served as an ambulance driver in World War I and wrote a number of poems about the Yukon. This poem is titled The Ballad of Blasphemous Bill, and here we go. I took a contract to bury the body of blasphemous Bill Mackay, whenever, wherever, or whatsoever the manner of death he die. Whether he die in the light of day, or under the peak-faced moon, in cabin or dance hall, camp or dive, mucklucks or patent shoon, on velvet tundra or virgin peak, by glacier drift or draw, in muskeg hollow or canyon gloom, by avalanche fang or claw, by battle, murder, or sudden wealth, by pestilence, hooch, or lead, I swore on the book I would follow and look until I found my tombless dead. For Bill was a dainty kind of cuss, and his mind was mighty sot, on a dinky patch with flowers and grass in a civilized boneyard lot. And where he died or how he died, it didn't matter a damn, so long as he had a grave with frills and a tombstone epigram. So I promised him, and he paid the price in good Chichaco coin, which the same I blowed in that very night down in the Tenderloin. Then I painted a 3-foot slab of pine, here lies poor Bill Mackay, and I hung it up on my cabin wall, and I waited for Bill to die. Years passed away, and at last one day came a squall with a story strange, of a long deserted line of traps way back of the Bighorn Range, of a little hut by the Great Divide, and a white man stiff and still, lying there by his lonesome self, and I figured it must be Bill. So I thought of the contract I'd made with him, and I took down from my shelf the swell black box with the silver plate he picked out for himself. And I packed it full of grub and hooch, and I slung it on the sleigh. Then I harnessed up my team of dogs, and I was off at dawn that day. You know what it's like in the Yukon wild when it's 69 below, when the ice worms wriggle their purple heads through the crust of the pale blue snow, when the pine trees crack like little guns in the silence of the wood, and the icicles hang down like tusks under the parka hood, when the stovepipe smoke breaks sudden off and the sky is weirdly lit, and the careless feel of a bit of steel burns like a red-hot spit, when the mercury is a frozen ball and the frost fiend stalks to kill. Well, it was just like that day when I sent out to look for Bill. Oh, the awful hush that seemed to crush me down on every hand as I blundered blind with a trail to find through that blank and bitter land, half dazed, half crazed in the winter wild with its grim, heartbreaking woes and the ruthless strife for a grip on life that only the sourdough knows. North by the compass, north I pressed, river and peak and plain. Past like a dream I slept to lose, and I walked to dream again. River and plain and mighty peak, and who could stand unawed? As their summits blazed, he could stand undazed at the foot of the throne of God. North, I north, through a land accursed, shunned by the scouring brutes, and all I heard was my own harsh word and the whine of the Malamutes. Till at last I came to a cabin squat built in the side of a hill, and I burst in the door, and there on the floor, frozen to death, lay Bill. Ice, white ice, like a winding sheet, sheathing each smoke-grimed wall, ice on the stovepipe, ice on the bed, ice gleaming over all. Sparkling ice on the dead man's chest, glittering ice in his hair, ice on his fingers, ice in his heart, ice in his glassy stare. Hard as a log and trussed like a frog with his arms and legs outspread, I gazed at the coffin I'd brought for him, and I gazed at the gruesome dead. And at last I spoke. Bill liked his joke, but still, gall darn his eyes, a man had ought to consider his mates in the way he goes and dies. Have you ever stood in an Arctic hut in the shadow of the pole, with a little coffin 6 by 3 and a grief you can't control? Have you ever sat by a frozen corpse that looks at you with a grin, and that seems to say, you may try all day, but you'll never jam me in? I'm not a man of the quitting kind, but I've never felt so blue as I sat there gazing at that stiff and studying what I'd do. Then I rose and I kicked off the husky dogs that were nosing round about, and I lit a roaring fire in the stove, and I started to thaw Bill out. Well, I thawed and thawed for 13 days, but it didn't seem no good. His arms and legs stuck out like pegs, as if they was made of wood. Till at last I said, it ain't no use, he's frozen too hard to thaw. He's obstinate, and he won't lie straight, so I guess I got to saw. So I sawed off poor Bill's arms and legs, and I laid him snug and straight in the little coffin he picked himself with a dinky silver plate. And I came nigh near to shedding a tear as I nailed him safely down. Then I stowed him away in my Yukon sleigh, and I started back to town. So I buried him as the contract was, in a narrow grave and deep, and there he's waiting the great cleanup when the judgment's loose heads sweep. And I smoke my pipe and I mediate in the light of the midnight sun, and sometimes I wonder if they was the awful things I done. And as I sit and the parson talks expanding of the law, I often think of poor old Bill and how hard he was to saw. Well, folks, that was my contribution for the evening. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, I'm Nick Carter, theater manager at the Garfield Center for the Arts. We put this together as just something that we can still provide the arts to you, the community. Now, I do want to address a subject I addressed earlier, but when I addressed it, there weren't that many people in watching. So I want to address the fact that there are more than just the people that live here this evening. However, we are practicing safe distance guidelines and all of that. And there's a thick smell of Lysol in the air, so everything is very nice and clean and sterile. So up next, we have performing Act 3, Scene 2, an excerpt from Act 3, Scene 2 of As You Like It. We have Shannon Whitaker as Rosalind and Kendall Davis as Celia.
Peace, here comes my sister reading. Stand aside.
Why should this a desert be? For it is unpeopled? No. Tongues I'll hang on every tree. That shall civil saying show. Some how brief the life of man runs his erring pilgrimage, that the stretching of a span buckles in his sum of age. Some of violated vows twixt the souls of friend and friend, but upon the fairest vows, or at every sentence end, will I, Rosalinda, write, teaching all that read to know, the quintessence of every sprite, heavenward in little show. Therefore heaven nature charged that one body should be filled with all graces wide enlarged. Nature presently distilled Helen's cheek, but not her heart. Cleopatra's majesty, Atalanta's better part, sad Lucretia's modesty. Thus Rosalind of many parts by heavenly synod was devised, of many faces, eyes, and hearts, to have the touches dearest prized. Heaven would that she these gifts should have, and I to live and die her slave.
O most gentle pulpiter, what tedious homily of love have you wearied your parishioners withal, and never cried, "Have patience, good people"?
Didst thou hear these verses?
Oh yes, I heard them all and more too, for some of them had in them more feet than the verses would bear.
That's no matter, the feet might bear the verses.
Aye, but the feet were lame and could not bear themselves without the verse, and therefore stood it lamely in the verse.
What didst thou hear without wondering how thy name should be hanged and carved upon these trees?
I was 7 of the 9 days out of wonder before you came. For look here what I found on a palm tree. I was never so berhymed since Pythagoras' time, that I was an Irish rat, which I can hardly remember.
Trow you who hath done this.
Is it a man?
And a chain that you once wore about his neck. Change you color.
I prithee, who?
Oh, Lord, it has a hard matter for friends to meet. But mountains may be removed with earthquakes and so encountered.
Nay, but who is it?
Is it possible?
Nay, I prithee now with most petitionary vehemence, tell me who it is.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, and most wonderful, wonderful, and yet again wonderful, and after that, all hooping.
Good my complexion. Dost thou think, though I am caparisoned like a man, I have a doublet hose in my disposition? 1 inch of delay more is a South Sea of discovery. I prithee, tell me who it is quickly, and speak apace. I would thou couldest stammer, and that thou mightest pour this concealed man out of thy mouth, as wine come out of a narrow-mouthed bottle, either too much at once, or none at all. I prithee, take the cork out of thy mouth, that may drink thy tidings.
So you may put a man in your belly.
Is he of God's making? What manner of man? Is his head worth a hat, or his chin worth a beard?
Nay, he hath but a little beard.
Why, God will send more, if the man will be thankful. Let me stay the growth of his beard, if thou delay me not the knowledge of his chin.
It is young Orlando that tripped up the wrestler's heels and your heart, both in an instant.
Nay, but the devil take mocking. Speak, sad brow and true maid.
I faith, 'cause 'tis he.
Orlando?
Orlando.
Alas the day! What shall I do, my doublet and hose? What did he when thou sawest him? What said he? How looked he? Wherein went he? What makes him here? Did he ask for me? Where remains he? How parted he with thee? And when shalt thou see him again? Answer me in one word.
You must borrow me Gargantua's mouth first. 'Tis a word too great for any mouth of this age's size. To say aye and no to these particulars is more than to answer in a catechism.
But doth he know that I am in this forest, and in man's apparel? Looks he as freshly as he did the day we wrestled?
It is as easy to count atomies as to resolve the propositions of a lover. But take a taste of my finding him, and relish it with good observance. I found him under a tree, like a dropped acorn.
It may well be called Jove's tree when it drops forth such fruit.
Give me audience, good madam.
Proceed.
There he lay, stretched along like a wounded knight.
Though it be pity to see such a sight, it well becomes the ground.
Cry, hurrah, to thy tongue, I prithee. It curvets unseasonably. He was furnished like a hunter.
Oh, ominous! He comes to kill my heart.
I would sing my song without a burthen. Thou bring'st me out of tune.
Do you not know I am a woman, when I think I must speak? Sweet, say on.
You bring me out. Soft, comes he not here?
'Tis he. Slink by and note him.
And again, that was Shannon Whitaker and Kendall Davis performing As You Like It. I wanted to thank everyone again for watching this evening. And if the mood fits you, we ask you to donate to the Garfield Center by donating at garfieldcenter.org/donate. There is a link in the text box up in the corner. Up next, we have Brad Chairs performing a selection called Somewhere My Love Lies Sleeping with a male chorus.
This will, in fact, be a different song. Not that I don't love the song that Nick has selected, but I just seem to have a greater passion for my next subject, which is learning, of course, because of the kids, right? So Schoolhouse Rock. This is a fantastic one of their songs, The Tale of Mr. Morton. This is the tale of Mr. Morton. Mr. Morton is who? He is the subject of our tale, and the predicate tells what Mr. Morton must do. Mr. Morton walked down the street. Mr. Morton walked. Mr. Morton talked to his cat. Mr. Morton talked. Mr. Morton was lonely. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. Mr. Morton knew just one girl. Mr. Morton knew. Mr. Morton grew flowers for Pearl. Mr. Morton grew. Mr. Morton was very shy. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. The subject is a noun. That's a person, place, or thing. It's who or what the sentence is about. And the predicate is a verb. That's the action word. It gets the subject up and out. Mr. Morton wrote Pearl a poem. Mr. Morton wrote. Pearl replied in the afternoon. Pearl replied, I know. Mr. Morton was very nervous. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does. The cat stretched, the sun beat down, the neighbor chased his kid. Each sentence is completed when you know what the subject is. Mr. Morton knocked on her door. Mr. Morton knocked. Mr. Morton sat on her porch. Yes, he just sat there and rocked. Mr. Morton was a nervous man. When she opened up the door, he ran. Mr. Morton climbed up his stairs. Mr. Morton climbed. Mr. Morton rhymed pretty words. Mr. Morton rhymed. Mr. Morton was lonely. Mr. Morton was. Until Pearl showed up with a single rose. Who says women can't propose? Now Mr. Morton is happy. Pearl and the cat are too. They are the subject of the sentence, what the predicate says they do.
Yay. Hello, everybody. This is Toby. Toby, you want to look at the camera? No? I'm just going to... There he is. There he is. All right. That was Brad performing Mr. Morton, the Schoolhouse Rock song. That's him. All right. I told you. All right. Next up, we have Act 3, an excerpt from Act 3, Scene 1, From Much Ado About Nothing, with Hester, Sachse as Hero, and Shannon Whitaker as Ursula. Here we go.
Now, Ursula, when Beatrice doth come, as we do trace this alley up and down, our talk must only be of Benedict. When I do name him, let it be thy part to praise him more than man did merit. My talk to thee must be of how Benedict is sick in love with Beatrice. Of this matter is little Cupid's crafty arrow made, that only wounds by hearsay. Now begin. For look, where Beatrice like a lapwing runs close by the ground to hear our conference.
The pleasantest angling is to see the fish cut with her golden oars the silver stream and greedily devour the treacherous bait. So angle we for Beatrice, who even now is couched in the woodbine coverture. Fear you not my part of the dialogue.
Then go we near her, that her ear lose nothing of the false sweet bait that we lay for it. No, truly, Ursula, she is too disdainful. I know her spirits are as coy and wild as haggards of the rock.
But are you sure that Benedict loves Beatrice so entirely?
So says the prince, my betrothed lord.
And did they bid you tell her of it, madam?
They did entreat me to acquaint her of it, but I persuaded them, if they loved Benedict, to wish him wrestle with affection and never let Beatrice know of it.
Why did you so? Doth not the gentleman deserve as full as fortunate a bed as ever Beatrice shall count upon?
Oh, God of love, I know he doth deserve as much as may be yielded to a man, but nature never framed a woman's heart of prouder stuff than that of Beatrice. Disdain and scorn ride sparkling in her eyes, misprizing what they look on, and her wit values itself so highly that to her all matter else seems weak. She cannot love, nor take no shape nor project of affection. She is so self-endeared.
Sure, I think so. And therefore certainly it were not good. She knew his love, lest she make sport at it.
Why, you speak truth. I never yet saw a man, how wise, how noble, young, how rarely featured, but she would spell him backward. If fair-faced, she would swear the gentleman should be her sister. If black, why nature drawing of an antic made a foul blot. If tall, a lance ill-headed. If low, an agate very vilely cut. If speaking, why a vein blown with all winds. If silent, why a block moved with none. So turns she every man the wrong side out, and never gives to truth and virtue that which simpleness and merit purchaseth.
Sure, sure. Such carping is not commendable.
No, not to be so odd and from all fashions, as Beatrice is, cannot be commendable. But who dare tell her so? If I should speak, she would mock me into air. Oh, she would laugh me out of myself, press me to death with wit. Therefore, let Benedict, like covered fire, consume away in sighs, waste inwardly. It were a better death than die with mocks, which is as bad as die with tickling.
Oh, yet tell her of it. Hear what she will say.
Oh, no, rather, I will go to Benedict and counsel him to fight against his passion, and truly I'll devise some honest slanders to stain my cousin with. One doth not know how much an ill word may empoison liking.
Oh, do not do your cousin such a wrong. She cannot be so much without true judgment, having so swift and excellent a wit as she is prized to have, as to refuse so rare a gentleman as Signor Benedict.
He is the only man of Italy, always excepted my dear Claudio.
I pray you, be not angry with me, madam. Speaking my fancy, Signor Benedict, for shape, for bearing, argument, and valor goes foremost in report through Italy.
Indeed, he hath an excellent good name.
His excellence did earn it, ere he had it. When are you married, madam?
Why, every day, tomorrow. Come, go in, I'll show thee some attires and have thy counsel, which is the best to furnish me tomorrow.
She's lined, I warrant you. We have caught her, madam.
If it proves so, then loving goes by halves. Some Cupid kills with arrows, some with traps.
There we go. Back in frame. All right. So that was Hester Sachse and Shannon Whitaker performing a scene from Much Ado About Nothing with a small cameo by me as the ear of Beatrice. And there was also a tickling stick involved. We want to thank everybody for watching tonight. And I just wanted to talk again about the distancing practices that we are doing. We are staying 10 feet away or 6 feet away from each other. There are no more than 10. There are only 5 of us here, so we're keeping it under that. We don't recommend that anyone else do what we're doing. This isn't what we should be doing.
Hey, Nick, the other 5 people are here.
Thanks, Brad. So Brad's going to finish off the night with a song. So here we go.
I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a great warm welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, "This is where I'm meant to be." I will find my way. I can go the distance. I'll be there someday. If I can be strong, I know every mile will be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong. Down an unknown road to embrace my fate. Though that road may wander, it will lead me. And 1,000 years would be worth the wait. It might take a lifetime, but somehow I'll see it through. And I won't look back. I can go the distance, and I'll stay on track. No, I won't accept defeat. It's an uphill slope, but I won't lose hope until I go the distance and my journey is complete. But to look beyond the glory is the hardest part, for the hero's strength is measured by his heart. Like a shooting star, I will go the distance, I will reach the world. I will face its arms, I don't care how far. I can go the distance till I find my hero's welcome waiting in your arms. Like a shooting star, I will go the distance, I will search the world. I will face its arms, I don't care how far. I can go the distance until I find my hero's welcome waiting in your arms.
All right, folks, so that is it. That is the first episode of GCTV in the books. I just wanted to thank you all again for coming. If you enjoyed this, please consider donating. GarfieldCenter.org/donate. There's also a link up in the corner of the text there. And just, we hope that we helped you all get a little bit of entertainment in all of this. And we assure you that we won't be, none of the future streams are going to be the same kind of format. We're gonna work on keeping everyone in their private residences. So I hope everybody had as much fun as we did. Good night and good luck. Oh, God, end.